Welcome back to Electron Stance. Today I want to walk through what I hope will be a fairly quick and easy repair of this old Precor elliptical machine that's been hanging around in my living room for several years now. One of the things I really like about this machine is the hand grip pulse. It will read heart rate from a polymer chest strap, and I probably have one of those around here somewhere, but it's really convenient just to get on the machine and start working out, put your hands on the grips, and have it display your heart rate during the exercise. Unfortunately, it's gotten to the point where it won't reliably read your heart rate. You can see that it's detecting a heartbeat now, but it's not getting a reliable enough reading to actually display my heart rate. So let's take apart the hand grips and the console and see what we can find out. When you're having trouble with a piece of electrical equipment that's been in service for a while, it's always good to check the electrical connections, just the basic connections. For instance, in an old computer that's giving you trouble, you might just open it up and reseat all the connectors, all the socketed components, add-on boards, harnesses, and you might find that fixes your problem. I'm hoping to find something like that today. Okay, you can see there's a pair of electrodes on each side that your fingers and palm make contact with. There's a reference electrode on the back and a signal electrode on the front, and you have electrodes on left and right, and all four need to be making good contact to get a reliable cardiac signal. I tried reseating these connections before, and that wasn't quite good enough, so this time I'm going to pull the wiring out of the frame and check all the connections at both ends, including the crimps on these fast-on connectors here. Of course, I'd better power down the machine before I open up the console here. I would have thought the wiring would come through this top rail, since that's a shorter trip, but I don't see any path for the wires to come in here, so I'm guessing they're coming in through this upright. That's nice. There are only 4 screws holding the console, holding the 2 halves of the console together. There's, of course, some cables going from the front half to the back that I'll have to either disconnect or rearrange. Start with that. That appears to be the heart rate signal here. I was kind of expecting to see blade connectors at both ends, but instead there's a little Molex connector here plugged into a header on the board. The heart rate is actually going through a small satellite board here. So let me take a picture of everything before I pull everything apart, in case I have a doubt about what was connected where when I go to put it back together. This appears to be the cardio signal coming through the upright. Hope it's not too hard to fish those wires through the frame. Oh, this is going to be a pain in the butt. I wonder if I can expose these wires. Maybe if I pull these end caps off. Oh my goodness. Maybe if I pull this plastic piece here off, it'll give me access to those wires. Looks like that'll be a lot easier than removing these end caps. Are we having fun yet? There is cable going through the upright. More connectors. And let me just say that every connection you add in a design is one more failure point. Okay, so there's the cable coming up through the upright. Here's a harness that has a connector, a 4-wire connector here, and 2 cables going through the upright. Look at that, more quick connects. I suppose I should mark these left and right in case that makes a difference. Right hand. Left hand. Now let's take all these cables and connectors to my workbench. Okay, on these insulated quick connect terminals, I'm actually going to remove the insulation, examine and solder the connection point at the crimp, and then cover the terminal with some heat shrink tubing when I'm done. So now what I've got is the uninsulated quick connect terminal. What I'll do is I'll flow some solder between the wire and the contact on each one of these points to make sure we have a good connection. That looks alright. Rinse and repeat. Okay, I'm finding that some of these quick connect terminals are pretty corroded. So what I'm going to do is scrape some of the corrosion off the terminals and wires to give me a surface that the solder will stick to. Pretty good chance that this is where my problem has been. Wow. Let's see if I've got some new terminals I can replace this with. Oh look, I have some nice new 188 size quick connects. So I'm just going to replace all 4 of these. So I'll just cut that off. Strip the wire. This is not really the proper crimp tool for this, but I'm going to be soldering anyway. After I solder each one of these quick disconnects, I'm going to put some heat shrink tubing over it to insulate it. I'll just hit that with a heat gun. Now I have a nice insulated terminal again. Let's go back and take a closer look at those fast-on quick disconnect terminals. One thing that struck me is how the two terminals on the lower side of the grips, the black color code here, are really badly corroded, while the upper terminals are in pretty good shape. That's probably because of sweat getting into the hand grip assembly and naturally gravitating toward the bottom of the grip, the bottom of the tube. If you look closely at this microscope view, you can even see the greenish copper salts in this lower terminal here, and the corrosion has even attacked the body of the terminal. This wire stop here is actually breaking off. A nice thing here is that they actually use two different terminal sizes. In my replacement terminals, I'm just using 187 fast-on terminals on top and bottom. The 187 will grip the smaller tab. But with their arrangement, it makes it impossible to wire up the terminals backwards. So when I first started this teardown and repair, I had decided to just pull all the harnesses out and rework all the connections. But after seeing the corrosion on the lower hand grip terminals, I'm convinced that's the only real problem with the whole heart rate signal input from the grips. So rather than reworking all the other connectors, I just fixed these, and I'm going to put everything back together now and see how well it works. I'm going to have to push some kind of wire pulling aid through the tube, grab hold of one end, and attach my cable to it with tape or something and pull it back through. I need something that's flexible but stiff enough to push through the tube. On one side I'm using some 80 thousandths weed eater line. On the other side I'm trying bicycle brake cable without the housing. Okay, it turns out that the steel cable works much better than the trimmer line for pulling wires. So I'll use that on both sides. I've got to tape this so that it won't tend to get hung up on any edges that it encounters along the way, and just gently pull through. Feels like it's coming. Here's the Y splitter cable that this attaches to. So I'll go ahead and make that. I've got the cable coming out at this end. can go ahead and connect it to my hand grip electrodes and put that back together. Wires attached. Let's fasten the two electrode assemblies together. And repeat the whole process on the left upright. It should be pretty easy to get this cable to go through the upright. It's keyed so it only plugs on one way. Now I've got the heart rate cable from the grips plugged onto the correct header here. So here's the console board. Here's a modular cable from the lower board. Here's the header where the heart rate cable plugs on. We'll get all the screws started before I actually tighten anything. Okay, all 4 screws are started, so I'll snug them up. I believe I have everything connected. Let's power it up. Oh, can you see that? Now I've actually got a nice stable heart rate readout. Okay, so now I'm getting a heart rate readout on the display. I'll have a workout session in the morning and see how well it's really working. Okay, with the reworked connections, the heart rate input works like a champ. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you back here again.